We have all seen these chaotic scenes, 50,000 people yesterday, and you don't know what caused these delays. People have missed so many flights. We don't know how many people have missed flights. Like, have you discovered today what was the cause of all of this?
Yeah, well, I think we're going through a process yesterday and today and the days to come where we'll really look at what did happen. I think what you have to understand is the airport is going through a process at the moment where we're really trying to build back post-COVID. We had 2 years where the business was pretty much decimated. For a long time, we had no passengers at all. We've ramped up to almost 100% of where we were in 2019. So 50,000 passengers on a weekend are really, really high numbers. We're having to cope with that. We're still trying to get the operation up to where it needs to be. We're trying to get staffing levels where they need to be. So when things go wrong, we've got the potential for what happened yesterday. It fell down yesterday. We apologise unreservedly to anyone who was affected by that yesterday. I was out there myself. I saw the scenes, very difficult. But look, we'll analyse it in the days to come. We'll find out what went wrong and we'll try and make sure it doesn't happen again.
I mean, listen, we appreciate that you're coming in here and you're holding your hands up and saying, we're sorry, but it's not good enough. Because if you think about it, the DAA knew this was happening. Yes, we know that there was a lot of job losses, but if that's the situation, they should have told the airlines that they can't have as many flights. You know, this isn't something that people just booked and turned up last minute. These flights are booked weeks ago, months ago. So the fact that everybody's turned up, they knew they had to be there, but why did security and the other personnel, why were they not there?
Well, I think we sit down every day to plan, to make sure we've got enough staff in place. The fact was yesterday we didn't have enough staff in place for the numbers that presented so early in the morning.
Did you not know that was the numbers that were coming through yesterday?
We have an idea of the numbers that are coming. One of the problems yesterday was that there was early presentation, so a lot of passengers came earlier than normal. That adds to the congestion. It means people are out of sync in terms of how we'd like them to flow through the airport. So that set us back very early in the morning. It's very hard to recover from that.
Well, you did put out on Twitter that you told people to arrive early, like you need to be here 3 hours. Like, I was looking at it yesterday following what was happening, and coming from your own Twitter account, you were like, you have to arrive early.
Well, we've been advising passengers for the past 3 months to come up to 2.5 hours before a short-haul flight, up to 3.5 hours before a long-haul flight. And you have to understand, that's been working for the past 2 months. We had a slip-up at the end of March. In the 2 months since then, 98% of passengers before this weekend had made it through security in under 45 minutes. Things were working.
Still
98% of passengers getting through in under 45 minutes. In a fast-growing environment, passenger numbers growing, we're ramping up our operation, a mass recruitment of staff underway at the moment. We're on track to have all our security staff in place by the end of June. I understand it's frustrating for passengers. We don't have them in yet. You have to understand, though, there's a 5 to 6 week training process for a security staff member coming in. So if we hire them today, it's 6, 7, 8 weeks before we can get them on the front line. So that's what we're dealing with at the moment.
Because I've been through the airport a number of times and I haven't had huge issues, but I've been there very early with young children and having the stress of going to the airport, not knowing what we're going to be expecting when we're getting there, having to sit in security. And then when we get through to the other side, I'm having to sit there for 2.5, 3 hours. You can't even get a seat in there. It's a really stressful situation, and it's a poor reflection on this country for tourists who are wanting to leave to go home.
100% agree. It's not where we want it to be. I think I've young kids myself. I know how stressful it is to fly at the best of times. I think what we've seen over recent months, we made a decision as an airport. We didn't want people to miss flights, so that's why we've been pretty given long advice to get to the airport. As you say, you got there, you got through nice and quickly. The flip side was you had to wait a bit longer at the gate. We took the decision as a company that was better than missing flights. It was better than the stress of security queues.
And that worked for me before, but people were turning up. Alan was telling me this morning he heard somebody who was there for 6 hours and missed their flight.
But can I just bring, and I want to get on, like there's autistic people who are having issues, there's disabled people who are having issues, like there's a lot going on here, and I do want to get back to airport security and how much they're being paid, how many hours that they're being guaranteed. But yesterday morning at 10:30 a.m, people who were queuing outside the airport were told you may not make your midday flight. Why in God's name are they not going out? Who's flying at midday? Why can't they jump the queue essentially so that they don't miss their flight? Why isn't that happening?
If you look at it yesterday, and I was out there and witnessed this, you had thousands of people there at the one time. So to try and segment them in some kind of way, it's just not possible. You need football pitches to be able to do that. You would need acres of space. You would need lots and lots of staff to check boarding passes and things like that. We've looked at all these options. It's just not a feasible option. Certainly not doing it on the fly yesterday morning. It wasn't possible. We took the decision in terms of telling people you may miss your flight. There was a lot of flights leaving yesterday morning to destinations destinations that were repeated in the afternoon. So our hope was that if they were going to miss that, we'd be upfront, we'd be honest. Can you get a flight in the afternoon? A lot of people did that. The airlines were very accommodating yesterday as well, the likes of Ryanair, for example. Fantastic response. They came out and said anyone can rebook.
They must be frustrated too. They don't want to have people missing flights.
Look, nobody is happy with this situation. We're taking the steps to correct this. We will look very closely at what happened the last couple of days. The answer long term is to make sure we've got enough security staff. That's what we're working on.
Does the fast track work?
Fast Track is working at the moment. If you've got an existing booking or if you book through one of our airlines, you can get through Fast Track.
That's it, because we do have lots of people asking about that. They've got Fast Track Pass, so that will work if they're getting through.
Fast Track works in the airport,
okay. Yeah. The one thing about the security staff, which we're seeing, is that they're only guaranteed 20 hours a week, but they have to be available for 40 hours a week work.
No, that's only some of the contracts. There's been a lot of bad press about the contracts we've got on offer at Dublin Airport at the moment. The fact is we've had over 5,000 applications for those jobs. Massive interest. There's a lot of people out there who don't want to work 40 hours a week. They want certain types of contract. We've got actors, we've got aspiring golfers, we've got loads of different people in the staff who want shift work. They want to work 2-3 days a week. We've got women coming back into the workforce. So we've a range of roles. We've everything from 40 hours a week down to 20 hours a week. We've something to suit everyone. And we're seeing the response to the ads. The interest in the jobs is really, really high. There is no problem with the pipeline of staff. The staff are coming on board. The pipe is full. It's just taking us time to get them trained up and on board.
It just seems to be bad news story after bad news story. Really,
June Bank holiday weekend is coming.
But at the airport, even last Wednesday, you know, you had that incident. I mean, you've made the decision to get people through security and have to sit around. And we're seeing a lot of people sitting drinking at bars. That we saw, of course, that fight happening where it was over 2-3 minutes before anyone was able to intervene. That's not good enough as well, is it?
The scenes last Wednesday were shocking. I can't say too much about that because it's subject to criminal investigation, obviously. But you know, that was that was a very poor reflection on Dublin Airport. Again, we looked at that, why that happened. We'll make sure that never happens again. It never happened in the past 20, 30 years in Dublin Airport, and it can't happen again. Eamon
Ryan, the Minister for Transport, has laid the blame squarely on the DAA. But you're meeting with Junior Transport Minister in charge of aviation, Hildegarde Naughton, today at about 9 a.m. I think it is that the DAA are going in. Are we going to have more answers coming through today about what's going on and some solutions?
I think we need to have answers. I think we hold our hands up. We got it wrong yesterday. We will find out what happened. We need to make sure that it doesn't happen again. We've a very busy June Bank holiday weekend coming up. We'll be doing everything this week to make sure we are prepared for that. We'll have around 100,000 passengers a day going next weekend. That's similar enough to what we had.
So
are
you trying to tell people to come up even earlier, like 5 hours as opposed to 3.5?
I think what we need to do is sit down today, tomorrow, look at that advice, make sure it's still relevant.
This has to be really clear.
At the moment, the advice is still for a short haul flight, arrive 2.5 hours before. For a long haul flight, 3.5 hours before. I would caveat that by saying, from what I saw yesterday, if you have to drop in a bag, I would give a little bit extra. I'd give another hour on top of that.
Okay.
4.5 hours early.
For a long haul flight.
Wow.
But if you consider the alternative is missing your flight, I think people will be prepared to spend a little bit extra at the gate, getting through quickly like you did. As I say, that's been the experience for 98% of passengers have got through in less than 45 minutes. So that's what we want to get back to. We had a blip at the weekend, and I'd say we had a blip at the weekend. We've got to make sure that was a blip at the weekend. This week we'll be doing everything we can to correct the situation.
Everyone flying out of Shannon and Cork are very happy, I think, at the moment. Listen, Graeme Quinn, Media Relations Manager with the Dublin Airport Authority, thank you so much for joining us this morning.